everybody. Welcome to our first actor talkback and interview for Beware the Ides, a socially distant Shakespeare series. This evening we have some actors and our illustrious director joining us for the interviews. So we have Taylor K. Corbett, the director of Beware the Ides. We also have Angelique Dina, Emily Entwistle, and Zara Lemieux. Everybody wave and say hi.
Hi.
And I am Megan Ruggiero. I am the production manager of Beware the Ides, and I will be moderating this interview this evening. So first and foremost, while Taylor is consuming her dinner, we're going to try to squeeze in a question with her first before she starts going on that sandwich. So Taylor, since this is our first one, I was wondering if you wanted to talk a little bit about how we pivoted from doing a full production of Caesar, our female-led Julius Caesar, to a series of pieces when we decided to move this digitally because of COVID. You could speak about the pivot a little bit. I think our audience would like hearing from you.
Sure. Yeah. So basically, we were planning on doing Caesar this summer, and it was going to be fantastic. We had a great cast lined up. Some of them are here. And we were all set and ready to go. But then the entire world got hit with like the year of 2020. It's not even just the pandemic anymore. It's the whole year. So we were waiting and waiting, and we we're going to see, like, is there some way we can do a version of this where we have the audience socially distant and the actors can still be interacting and everything. But it just, in the interest of everybody's safety and to keep the artistic integrity of our production of Caesar, we decided to shift to a digital format and do this whole new, just a bunch of quick little blips from a bunch of different shows that focus on political ideas and political conflicts. So it was a little stressful in the beginning. You know, I had prepped everything. I did full script analysis, cut my whole script, was ready to go. And then I had to read like 12 other plays. But we got it narrowed down to who was going to be in what scene, what scenes we were doing. And from there, it was just, you know, focusing on how do we make this stream process work? How do we order these scenes? Keeping everybody focused on what they need to be focused on in the scene. But yeah, the pivot came and developed as our knowledge about the virus developed. And I mean, hopefully we'll be back next year with live theater. Hopefully everybody will be back next year with live theater, but this is a good, like, dipping our toes in the digital thing just in case we want to do something else in the meantime. But yeah, that's all. That's all I have on that one.
All right, you've worked hard.
Yes.
So let's pop over to Zara, who played Joan this evening in Henry VI. So Zara, can you talk a little bit about just the rehearsal process and how you got into this role, how you got in the mindset to play this role, and maybe speak a little bit about, you know, how you may have done things differently if we were doing this on a stage, and how your mindset flipped when we, you know, moved this to a completely digital experience.
So basically, like, the rehearsal process for me, and I know that a lot of my castmates share something similar. Outside of our regular rehearsals, we of course read our entire plays and then made sure that we understood everything that our character was saying. So there's a lot of lexicon work that comes into that, because the meaning of words now isn't necessarily what they meant then. So Dane now has a negative connotation, but it didn't mean that in the way that we use it today, just as an example. So we do our lexicon work, and then of course keeping our instrument warm with vocal, physical, and speech articulators. And then of course we get off book. And what we were originally doing is, as like Taylor had spoken to, we were online, and right as we were about to go into in-person rehearsals, we kind of decided like, actually, we're not going to. So we continued to work online and through Zoom mostly. I think that the only major difference isn't necessarily in process, but more about just making it ever so slightly smaller, because you don't have to reach the back of the house. So if you were to do something, it would like you were in a theater, it would seem a little too large and a little too like campy. And so it's just pulling that back a little bit. You don't necessarily have to be as loud. And you just have to learn how to train your eyes to look where it looks like you should be looking, as opposed to not always looking like at them in the screen, because it doesn't look like I'm looking at you. But those are just the major differences. And all in all, it was a really rewarding process, because I was really reticent going in. I was like, I don't know if it'll be the same. And it's not exactly the same, but you can do very rewarding work if anyone's questioning, because the people are the same. And that's really what you do it for.
What was your favorite quality in Joan that you got to bring forth this evening?
I think my favorite thing about Joan in general is her unapologetic nature. I feel like that is something that is kind of like stripped away from women in media in a lot of portrayals. And so I really appreciated to be able to take something that may seem outlandish, like a visit from God, and present it in a way that I hope that she would be proud of, in the way that it's like, it's not self-flagellating. It's like, maybe I have questions, but I am firmly rooted in what I'm doing.
Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing your insight on process and character. We're going to flip over to Miss Emily, who played Constance this evening from the play King John. So Emily, I know that this role kind of just came to you. We just kind of were like, hey, do you want to play this and do this crazy, sad widow monologue? Not widow monologue, sorry, lost son monologue. Like, what did you think from the beginning about this particular character, and what was your sort of like transformation from day one all the way to now in how you encapsulated her?
Well, yeah, it was given to me. Somebody else had suggested it, and you guys asked if I wanted to play her. And the first read through, I was like, wow, like she's all over the place, and she's a mom, and I'm not a mom, so how am I going to tap into this? And so the entire rehearsal process, it was, how can I connect to Constance? And I found that I could, with help throughout rehearsal process and trying to pick those different moments in your life where you're not exactly at where you're at one of your lowest, and you have to draw from that. And Constance, she may appear to be crazy and all over the place, but she's challenging everything in this monologue. And the more that I looked into it and read it and read the history of her and figured out how her husband died and what most likely truly happened to her son, and how it paralleled with her husband, and how at a moment in time she would be a nobody, because who she is, who you were back in as a female, depended on your husband. And then when he passed away, it depended on my son, who was in line to be the king. And now she has nothing, and she's essentially a nobody. And then she questions God and goes against God, which was even bigger. So I grew to truly love Constance, and it's kind of sad that this is over, because I loved exploring her, because every single day there is something new that we just picked apart in the script that you can connect to, and you can find ways to connect to. And I derailed, so I'm not really sure if I answered all your questions or not. So
I think you did. I think I kind of want to make people laugh. So I was wondering if you could share the tidbit from the rehearsal process where Taylor coached you in getting mad at Kyle. And in that mock argument we may or may not have had you do with him.
Sure.
And what that was like and how it helped.
So Taylor introduced one of I think is the most fun way to connect lines to emotions. And by doing that, Taylor picked an argument for Kyle and I to have, and it had nothing to do with the script, but it got the emotions out there. And that's a key component to connecting yourself to the character, to the words. And our argument that Taylor loved to give us was derailing, if tomato was a fruit for me, then it would be fruit salad. And then Kyle's was that tomato is a vegetable, therefore it's a soup. So we had to argue back and forth of what tomato was. And for me, it was a fruit salad. So no matter what I, as Emily, believed, which is not that, I had to embody it and fight Kyle. And it enhance your emotions to a point, and then boom, you go into the script, and then that's how you connected. And it's pretty magical and pretty fun, even as silly as it is. Yeah.
Love that. Thank you. That may have been one of my favorite moments from the entire rehearsal process. So the world needed to know about it.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
I mean,
So switching over to, Taylor has a thing. Yes, Taylor.
just real quick. I loved that exercise. Just because getting you guys to argue about something that really didn't matter, like, was just as silly as possible. And then, like, there were a few points where, like, I was sending messages to Kyle, be like, "Ooh, tell her she's being too emotional right now," or like, tell her this or that." And then at one point I was just like, "Yeah, go into the text," and you guys started really arguing as your characters. And it's just, if I can get you to argue about something stupid, I can make you argue about something important too. So yeah, that's it. That's my tidbit on it.
All right. Switching over to Miss Angelique, who played Angelique. Just so you know, you're on mute, my love. So Angelique played Brutus from our. She was cast as Brutus in our original project, which was going to be a full length Caesar, completely female led for the most part. So Angelique, with Brutus, because you're going to be coming back in a couple other episodes with this character, I'd love for you to speak a little bit about bringing the humanity into this character, because I feel like this could very easily become a Brutus is a really nasty betrayer villain, and that's what it is. So I was wondering if you could speak a little bit about how you brought sort of the humanity to this character, and made and you really want to make audiences feel compassionate about you. So I'm wondering if you could speak a little bit about that.
Yeah, so with this, I have to like bring this short story up first. I saw John Douglas Thompson, amazing Black actor, do this monologue last year in the Berkshires, and what caught me was this that his natural ability to just say these words, and I was just like, oh my god, like this doesn't sound like Shakespeare. And I'm always one to be like, I'm not really for productions that are like, I'm Shakespearean. I'm just always like, okay, let's keep the integrity of the words, but how do you use that in your own voice, your natural voice, and not put on this facade? Again, things were different back then, but that was also their voice then. We don't have that voice now, period. But when bringing the humanity into this character, I was just like, number one, don't look on No Fear Shakespeare. I'm not one. Y'all can do that if y'all want, but for me, I'm just like, I can't do that because I am treating myself, and I'm treating myself from the learning process. Now, for some people, they use that. Cool. For me, I just cannot do that because I have to look at what the words are saying. And I was just true to the words. Everyone has intentions, whether they're the best intentions or not. For me, I see Brutus as trying to do what she thinks is best. I don't really see her being like, "Oh, I just think Caesar needs to die," because it's not a part of me. It's not Brutus. And so I was just like, okay, how do I looked right into my light. That was a bad idea. I was just like, how do I stay true to the words and bring whatever the words are saying out? And what the words were saying to me was Brutus is honest and will do what she thinks is best for Rome. Not my oh my god, I'm having a glitch. Might not be what I want, might not be what other people want, but I think bigger picture. So 10 years from now, this is a great idea. 5 days from now, not so much. And so that's how I like looked at this role and what I could do to show that side of Brutus.
You have a favorite line or couple lines from this piece. It's such a fantastic monologue for you. And I think that, you know, when we were rehearsing, you delivered it so beautifully, like within the context of the play, but you also deliver it so well as a standalone piece. So I was just wondering if there's like a portion of this that you really latched onto from the very beginning.
There are three moments when I say, then none have I offended. I have done no more to Caesar than you shall do to Brutus. And then at the end, when I say, oh my God, I just didn't. How do I not have it? At the end, where I hold my hand up and everyone saw the blood again. And I was like, something about when it shall please my country to need my death. For me, that was like the hook, line, and sinker moment of being like, I'm in it for the long run, and y'all know I'm about it. And so for those three lines, for me, made the world of the play for Brutus. So those are the three lines that I held on to at the beginning, and those are the three lines that I kind of motivated, or like the monologue was inspired by those three lines. I was like, these are the key parts. Even though you hear it at the end, this is what I'm going for. So those are the three moments.
I got you. Well, I think that we're gonna wrap this one up, but I'm gonna circle back to Taylor for one last second to see if she has any final words on this episode as a whole that you would like to share before we say goodnight.
I mean, nothing like too prolific, but it was extremely interesting in rehearsal, just from like a directing perspective, to go from one scene to the next scene that just they have nothing to do with each other at all. Like normally when I'm directing, we're going, you know, it's a full script and we'll do 10 pages a rehearsal, and in those 10 pages we'll be like, all right, well, what were you just doing before this? And, you know, if we can't find an answer there, we look at the script and we figure it out. We didn't have that option this time around. So it was a lot of, hey, what were you doing before this? And then just like me relying on the actors to be able to know, like, oh, I was doing this because I read the play and this is the context that it falls in. And that made it, having the actors know that when I didn't specifically, you know, have a full script in front of me at all times, was really important in like how I directed each of them. Because like for Brutus, I mean, that's the play that I knew. And there's some wonderful pieces in the monologue that Angelique did and throughout the play for Brutus. And then the other plays like Henry VI and King John, it was a lot of, you know, knowing the general story and then having to have the actors help me find the specifics, so that after one rehearsal, I can start saying to people, just for an example, Emily, when you were playing Constance and they killed my son, my flowers bud, I think is the line. Like just getting right into that line and being like, what does that mean? Why are you saying that he's a flowers bud? And it's like he didn't get a chance to bloom. And then that opened up a whole new level of things for Emily, for the character. So it kind of, with all of these pieces, I'm kind of speaking not just in this episode, but in general, but with every piece that we did, there were a lot of these pieces that involved just a true collaboration between myself and the actors. And I always treat theater as a collaboration regardless, but this time it was like we were in the deep end of collaboration the whole time, as opposed to, you know, being in like the comfortable, not shallow, but middle area of the pool. But yeah, I'm gonna ramble if I keep going. So
Fair enough. All right. Well, thank you so much, actors and Taylor, for joining us this evening, and for everybody that tuned in to episode 1. Please tune in for the next 4 nights for more Shakespeare shenanigans and fun at 8 p.m. sharp on the Glass Horse YouTube page. Thanks so much and have a great night.